You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It was not my plan to be here today. It's not my vision to have this as my mission. But on September the 21st, 2005, the life that I knew changed forever as my 19-year-old son was diagnosed with acute lymphoma. Blindsided is an understatement. Nick was an All-American boy, 3-sport athlete, captain of his team, and on a Division I scholarship at Hofstra University when he was living his dream, rooming with his best friend and his younger brother. And we soon began our journey with cancer. Little did we know what was in store for my Nick and our family, but our eyes were open to the emotional, financial devastation associated with this disease. I had to leave my executive level job to be an advocate and a caregiver for my son. And that leave was unpaid, but grateful to know that once Nick recovered, I would have a job to return to. Short-term disability was not an option, as I was not the one sick. And as I stand here today, short-term disability is not an option for parents whose child is sick. Nick became my sole focus, and my other children's needs were put on the back burner. I hope that they understood my position. If it were them, I would have done the very same thing. Nothing else mattered but Nick's health. Nick personally recognized the struggles that our own family was experiencing, as well as other patients and families that he and we encountered. He experienced and witnessed the fear of cancer. Will I make it? Will I respond to treatment? The sadness and the stresses that my parents and his brothers were feeling. The monotony and the loneliness of the hospital. In Nick's case, he often asked himself, will I return to school? Will I return to the field that I longed to play on? He polled other patients and identified their needs and found that they were very similar. Rather than feeling sorry for himself, Nick took action. And through pain and a sense of purpose, and from his hospital bed, the Headstrong Foundation was born, serving the community that he was now part of. Nick's nickname was Head, and he chose that to represent in the name Headstrong. Strong, known for his mental and physical toughness. And so Headstrong, it just made sense. Nick had a renewed spirit. His goal was to make sure that all monies raised were directed to families wanting to ease their burden. And Nick lived in his vision and not in his circumstance. And he taught me this very valuable lesson. Headstrong became a great diversion for Nick as he was busy laying the groundwork, establishing short-term and long-term goals, creating the logo, the color palette, lime green representing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and blue for his beloved Hofstra University. And here's where I changed it. The name Headstrong, Nick's nickname was Head, and he was known for his mental and physical toughness. And so he said, Mom, I want to add strong to the end. Head will always be capitalized. And as the organization that was to become Nick's career was launching, our lives were falling apart as Nick was not responding to treatment. And for me as a mother, it was a crippling reality that I couldn't fix this. And how could this be? I was consumed. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. How could it be Nick? How could this be happening to our family? Not us, not our Nick. The doctors were wrong. They're mistaken. Our denial was short-lived as Nick was given days to live. Once again, this cannot be happening. I bartered with God. I begged. I pleaded for his life. And this is the reality of many families. Not just cancer, but tragedies as a result of a freak accident, a car accident, suicide, illness, or drug overdose. The loss of a child is one of the most painful events that an adult can experience, having been unable to protect that child. And 16 years later, it's still indescribable. As we prepared to leave the hospital and return home, a place we hadn't been to in many months, and just 2 days before Nick passed, he asked to have a conversation with me. He looked into my eyes, he took my hands, and he said, Mom, I want to be buried in my Hofstra Pride uniform. In lieu of flowers, I want donations to a scholarship fund in my name so that other athletes could have the opportunity that I had. And finally, and most importantly, he made me promise that the Headstrong Foundation would continue so that others who followed in his footsteps would benefit from the life that he lived. And to be honest, I was speechless. His concern for others floored me. At a time in his life when he could be selfish, he was selfless. He placed his beloved Headstrong into his mother's hands. He said, "Mom, you must promise me you have the ability to take this organization to the heights that it can go. And I believe in you, Mom. Please don't let my death be in vain." I knew I had to fulfill my promise to Nick. I knew in my heart that the work I had done in the past just didn't have any meaning. Kissing Nick goodbye has changed me forever, has changed me as a mother, and has changed me as a person I was. And sometimes I'm even still unrecognizable, even to myself. Who am I? What is life without its challenges? And just like anything, a new set of challenges would present themselves. How was I going to live without my son? How is it even possible that I'm breathing and he is not? Our family is like a table and we're missing one of its legs. How will we ever be able to balance? I had to return to work in an attempt to recover financially from Nick's illness. How could I work when I couldn't even think straight? Well, 30 days after Nick's funeral, I returned to work. Was I ready? Hell no. I didn't even know what day of the week it was. I drove right past the driveway to the office before I even realized it, and I had to turn around. So I returned to a job that I once loved and I had excelled at, but I was now looking at life through a new lens. And suddenly I noticed people, I noticed things in people that I had never noticed before. The arrogant boss, the lazy coworker, the colleague so focused on advancing his career he'd stoop to any level to get there, the shallowness of people, those who place such value on money. Hell, I thought to myself, if I were told I could have Nick back and had to live in a box, that box would become our home. I wasn't sure how I was going to get through this, as I could no longer relate. Through all the pain, and yes, many tears, I kept thinking about the conversation in the car. And I remember the promise that I made to Nick. And I realized that the Headstrong Foundation was a gateway to our healing. Keeping Nick current and sharing his life, becoming servant leaders to others, as he was, and supporting families in our community. A purpose to heal and to make an impact. And for the last 16 years, I have committed to lead the Headstrong Foundation by carrying Nick's vision, carrying it forward, raising over $28 million, and assisting almost 26,000 patients and families, just like our family. There has been no greater reward for me than when someone tells me they found strength through Nick to get through their cancer journey, or when we welcome families to Nick's house like the Camps from Dallas, Texas, who traveled 1,500 miles in an attempt to save the life of their 5-year-old daughter. Far from home, away from their support system, unable to work, Nick's house was the lifeline that allowed them to pursue remission. Or when I get a letter or an email from someone we assisted, like Ben's mom, and she writes to me, "As a mother whose child battled cancer, I can so deeply relate to you, Cheryl. Headstrong gets it and has kept our family strong so that we can face each day." Recently, I was hospitalized for 44 days and I discovered Headstrong. And I simply wanted to let you know how much I appreciate the support. A piece of your neck is in my heart because I am now a small part of his story. And that was from Stuart. There is no greater reward than uplifting families in their darkest days and welcoming them to the Headstrong family. I encourage you to find your Headstrong. There are many opportunities here at the Headstrong Foundation, as well as other organizations. And that's where I left off.